Tolerance is everywhere. At least a word. I'm the political ferret and I will show how about 3/4 of you use this word wrong. So what is tolerance? Well, tolerance is the ability or willingness to tolerate the existence of other opinions or behavior that one dislikes or disagrees with. In other words, liking stuff or just being indifferent about it and tolerating it at the same point is not possible. You have to dislike it or you have to disagree. So, examples for that: I can't tolerate Trekkies. They are a terrible pest for some, but I like them. So, if I like them, I cannot tolerate them. I can accept them, which is quite easy for me because I can relate to them, even to those freaks who think that the ketogenic curds were a good deal. But this is not tolerance. It's not that I say, I tolerate guys who dress up in made-up uniforms. It's not tolerance, it's acceptance. So, I also can't tolerate gays because I'm indifferent to them. I have no particular interest in this group because I don't share the traits that make them a group. But this group does not interfere with my lifestyle. So I don't care. I have gay friends, but this certain trait is not important to me, as their favorite football team is not important to me. In other words, I do not care for that. But since I do not care, and I have nothing against them, and I don't disagree with them, I can't be tolerant to them. What I can do, and this is what I do, is accept them. So, but I can be tolerant to the Christian church because I disagree to a lot of what they believe and how they interpret their book and what they do and their past and their history, and in other words, I'm not a big fan. I'm kind of a hater, but I can tolerate them in the form they are right now, right here. And a little word to that. Since most of my audience is now American, I have obviously something to clarify. We in Europe are not very used to Christian fundamentalism. You see, we solved this problem some 100 years ago by bullying them out, putting them on ships to the colonies and never hear from them again. Then they built over there a society in which the freedom of religion is quite an issue because this was what drove them out of their homes back then. While we in the old world followed a completely different path. We are the evil guys you hear about in the Thanksgiving stories, and I tell you that we don't feel guilty. Keep this in mind. So, if I talk about Christians, I don't mean American Christian, I mean European Christian. And I don't care all too much about things like Mormons. I mean, I looked it up, we have 4,000 of them over here. I was surprised that it's even that high, but I never noticed them. So, however, since I don't like the church, but I don't want to see it gone completely, I do tolerate it. And I do tolerate it. But there are things I won't tolerate, like rape, murder, abuse, theft, you know, all these very nice things. And I don't think that I'm a bad person because I won't tolerate crime. Quite the opposite, to be true. I think I'm a better person than those who are indifferent about murder. I am intolerant against those things because I don't want it to happen to me or to others in my closest surroundings. I can understand that people see this differently, but just because they, let's say, cultivated systematically murder into their society and call it culture, I have no obligation whatsoever to tolerate this. And since I do not tolerate this, I have in essence 3 options. I can try to change them, I can ignore them, or I can go into denial. Trying to change somebody who thinks that his culture is good and yours is bad is very hard, and I think it's not the best idea. Going into denial and tell yourself stories about how they don't do that, what they do, because this is all propaganda and misunderstandings, because who would do such a thing, because nobody will do that, no, this is all a misunderstanding, is cowardly and stupid. Ignorance is the way that works best. You have to meet once, of course, argue which law and culture applies where and where not, and then you go each your way and ignore each other. Okay, to summarize this, you cannot tolerate things that you do not reject in the first place, or at least disagree with. If you don't tolerate things that you reject, you can't demand tolerance for your stuff that others reject. I mean, you can do this, but don't be surprised if others will deny you that, because they say, you don't tolerate me, why should I tolerate you? This is the problem that the neo-far leftists have nowadays. They want that the other side not just tolerates everything they like, but also accepts it, while they don't even tolerate anything they don't like. And this is not a good deal, so they try to use force, which of course then disturbs the peace. Tolerance is nothing that comes before rejection. It's a strategy how to deal with your own rejection. Do you want to force change? Do you ignore it? Or do you go into denial? Or do you try to tolerate it? As a rule of thumb, ignorance works very well if you have a lot of space between the groups. Nations are built largely around of the idea of ignorance. But if you come closer, if the people come closer, tolerance becomes a very important topic. So how tolerant should we be? Well, that depends. The amount of my tolerance to another group is strongly bound on how much tolerance I can expect. And this is why I have a lot of beef with Islam, because they are particularly intolerant. Not Muslims, Islam. Muslims can change, Islam can't. And it is very important to understand this, and so I have to repeat it again and again and again and again. But try this view, okay? You can change from being a basketball fan to a soccer fan, but you can't change basketball into becoming soccer. If you do this, it's not basketball anymore. The same is true for all religions, for all ideologies, and so on and so on and so on. You have to label it new if it is new. That's the reason why we have different names for the Orthodox Church, for the Roman Catholic Church, for the Evangelion Church, because they are different. Remember, to be tolerant, you have to be tolerant against stuff you find disgusting. Ask yourself, how much tolerance of others do you demand, and how tolerant are you yourself? And in the end, being really tolerant, it's never something that anyone can enjoy. I mean, it's a currency. You give tolerance to get it back. If you're not willing to give tolerance, if you're not willing to swallow your disgust, don't expect others to do it. Like always, thanks for listening. Consider liking and subscribing, share on social media, and have a great day.